what's going on today?
We have a friend who is unconscious. He hasn't moved. He's cold extremity. It's probably need an ambulance.
Unfortunately, that 911 call came at least 12 hours too late to save Timothy Piazza. The Penn State student died at a fraternity hazing ritual back in February, and now tensions are really boiling over in the courtroom. The attorneys have been shouting at each other, and it has basically been 2 gut-wrenching days for the parents of Tim Piazza. Visibly emotional at these proceedings, sometimes crying, who can blame them, as these text messages are read aloud in court, such as this one from the fraternity's pledge master, who said to his girlfriend, seemingly more concerned with his own well-being, texting, quote, "I do not want to go to jail for this." Trace Gallagher, latest details on this from our West Coast newsroom tonight. Trace.
Martha, defense attorneys say nobody forced 19-year-old Timothy Piazza to drink so much that his blood alcohol level was 4 times the legal limit, which led to at least 1 fall down a flight of stairs and several other falls onto his head. A Piazza family lawyer says the 18 fraternity members plotted and executed the binge drinking through a hazing ritual called the Gauntlet, and that Beta Theta Phi President Brendan Young knew that hazing rituals were dangerous and against the fraternity's national policies when he texted the pledge master saying, quote, "If anything goes wrong with the pledges this semester, then both of us are effed." Lawyers say the members also tried to cover up their involvement, and when 911 finally was called, nobody mentioned the fall.
Okay, how old is he?
He is 19. Yeah, 19 years old.
And was he breathing?
He is breathing.
Was there any alcohol or anything involved, do you know?
Yes, there is.
All right, we'll get somebody over there, okay? If anything changes, just call back and let us know.
Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
The prosecution cited text messages as proof that Piazza's death was no accident. One saying, quote, "It's not the fact that he drank. He drank because we hazed him too," main word being hazed. And the chapter president writing, quote, "I don't think you fully comprehend the situation. He looked effing dead." Piazza's father released a statement saying the fraternity members showed no remorse in court, and the hearings have, quote, "tried our patience as we listened to 7 defense lawyers, each attempting to justify the unjustifiable, and each attempting to shift the focus, shift the blame, and shift the responsibility from the men who they represent." This hearing is to see if there's enough evidence to take this to trial.
Incredible.
Martha.
Trace, thank you so much. Joining me now, Center County District Attorney and lead prosecutor in the Timothy Piazza case, Stacey Parks Miller. Stacey, thank you for being here tonight. We have shown so much of this evidence over the course of the last few months that it's pretty difficult to understand a scenario where there's not enough evidence to go forward with these charges. Involuntary manslaughter is the strongest of them. What is the bar for that? And are you, as your opponent claims, overcharging in this case?
Absolutely not. People have to remember, too, that this went through a grand jury in Pennsylvania, and the sitting grand jury already found probable cause. I don't know why Pennsylvania is structured such that once that happens, you have to go through another preliminary hearing and reprove it. In many other states, that would be the end of it. Probable cause has already been found once.
Yeah, but that's what you have to do.
I don't write the law. Yeah, right.
I understood.
So we've already been through the exercise.
All right. So in terms of involuntary manslaughter, going back to that, the strongest charge, what would you have to prove in this case to get that?
Yeah. It's actually a very lower bar than the defense attorneys continue to try to present to confuse the judge and the public. They constantly say, my client didn't intend to hurt Mr. Piazza. We're not claiming that. Voluntary manslaughter is simply unintentionally causing a death through reckless behavior. And the behavior here was wildly reckless. Reckless simply means behavior outside the norm that a reasonable person would practice. And there's no question in our minds, in the case that we are presenting is, you know, deliberately holding an event which makes someone fatally drunk and risks death is reckless. It's outside the norm a reasonable person would practice.
So you have to prove
unintentionally, but led to the death.
I'm sorry, we have a little bit of a delay. I don't mean to be stepping on you, so I just want to apologize for that. But you have to prove that they forced him to drink unsafe amounts, correct?
No, that's another complete misnomer. It doesn't have to be forced. It is simply that they engaged in reckless behavior. And in this particular case, it's simply that they planned an event in which they deliberately supplied enough alcohol in which people got to fatal levels of drunkenness. It does not matter if he voluntarily consumed it or not. And manslaughter, in fact, says in the definition they can be engaging in legal or illegal acts with the recklessness. And here, it was illegal acts. It was hazing and furnishing.
I mean, when you read through these text messages and you read the preparations and you hear some of them say, you know, that every time they're upping the ante and, you know, we better be careful because maybe we're going too far with this. We're going to get these guys so effed up, as they say, that they're, you know, some of them express concern about it. But when you think about it, in some ways, the alcohol almost doesn't even have to matter. He fell down a flight of stairs and he was left there and nobody called an ambulance for 12 hours. So in some ways, the alcohol becomes less important than the injuries and the fact that these, you know, practically adults didn't do anything, right?
Well, so yeah, right, there's a river. This case is a river, and there are river rocks in it. One of the big rocks is he does take a very serious, obvious fall and falls repeatedly and falls twice, and they don't get him aid. But the river starts when they get him so drunk he can't protect himself. And our pathologist, part of the case is an opinion that he died as a result of severe inebriation, which caused his fall. So it's a chain that is linked. And in Pennsylvania, the hazing part of it has right in the definition that the person's consent to the behavior is not a defense, because they realize that to be part of a group, people will engage in things. So the whole idea that he consented or went along with it will not be a legal defense for them, no matter how much they talk about it.
I know it's been a rough few days for the family, and our hearts go out to them. Stacey, thank you very much for being here. We'll be following this case throughout the summer as it progresses. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you for following it.